Class 12 Political Science Contemporary World Politics. Chapter 1 Cold War Era. And this is the second lecture on Cold War Era, that is, nuclear deterrence. Previous class we have learned about the emergence of Cold War after the end of Second World War. And this is the continuation of previous topic, and today we'll discuss about the nuclear deterrence. Let us see. After the end of Second World War, the two superpowers were keen on expanding their spheres of influence in different parts of the world. Most countries of Western Europe sided with the US, and those of Eastern Europe joined the Soviet game. That is why these were also known as Western and Eastern alliances. We have already mentioned North Atlantic Treaty Organization (NATO), Central Treaty Organization (CENTO), Southeast Asian Treaty Organization (CETO). Then another side, Warsaw Pact. The United Nations Organization (UNO) had been formed. It was expected that there would be no tension and the military alliances would not be formed any further. But however, this was not happening. Tensions between the two superpowers led to the formation of military alliances by the two superpowers, by the two blocs. To preserve democracy and capitalism, North Atlantic Treaty Organization (NATO) was formed in 1949 under the leadership of USA. Its aim was to contain communism. In 1954, USA made an alliance in Southeast Asia that is known as Southeast Asian Treaty Organization. And in 1955, Central Treaty Organization was formed. American alliances were directed to contain the growth of spread of communism in every possible manner. A strong response of the Soviet Union came up with the Warsaw Pact of its alliance. Both these opposing military groups gave a boost to the Cold War. In this political scenario, there was another important development was that the emergence of the origin of non-aligned movement (NAM), which gave the newly independent countries a way to staying out of these alliances. We will learn every detail of non-aligned movement (NAM) in the upcoming lectures one by one. A blue color representing the Western nations of Europe. It belonged to Western powers, and these red colors representing Eastern Bloc. They belong to Eastern powers. And this iron content divides the Europe continent into two parts. And the next is very important part. You may ask why the superpowers needed any alliance at all. In spite of their mighty armies and the nuclear armament, superpowers needed alliance in Asia, Africa, and the Europe continent. Why? We have some important reasons. The smaller states are helpful for the superpowers in gaining to access, number one, vital resources such as oil and minerals, and number two, their territory, from where the superpowers could launch their weapons and troops, and number three, their locations, from where they could spy on each other, and finally, economic support, where many small alliances could combine together to pay for military expenses. And another important reason is to get ideological support and win wars of ideas between socialism and communism. As we have already learned it, Cold War is the war of ideas. An ideological divide is the main emergence of Cold War. Reason for the emergence of Cold War. The world divided into capitalism and communism, and the superpowers were struggling the war of ideas. And the next is nuclear deterrence during Cold War. What does nuclear deterrence mean? The military doctrine that an enemy will be deterred from using nuclear weapons as long as he can be destroyed as a consequence. That is known as military deterrence. The strategic concept of deterrence aims to prevent war. It is the justification virtually every nuclear state uses for maintaining nuclear arsenals. The concept of nuclear deterrence follows the rational first use principle. Both sides have the capacity to retaliate against an action and to cause so much destruction that neither can afford to initiate war. That is nuclear deterrence. It is a military doctrine according to which the possibility that a country will use nuclear weapons it forces in retaliation with deter an enemy from attacking. After the end of Second World War, the nuclear arms race was started. Competition for the supremacy of nuclear weapons, especially between United States and the Soviet Union and their respective alliances during the Cold War. During this period, in addition to the American and the Soviet nuclear stockpiles, other countries developed nuclear weapons through non-engaged in warhead production on nearly the same scale as the two superpowers. It is the data regarding the production of nuclear weapons by United States and Soviet Russia from 1950 to 2010. The Cold War was a result of rivalry between the two superpowers. The innovation of nuclear and atomic bombs prevented a direct war. The use of atomic bombs would have been costly for any country. The logic was simple. Since both powers were in possession of nuclear weapons, capable of inflicting death, a hot war had to be avoided. In spite of provocations, no country wanted to risk a war just to gain a political mileage. If a nuclear war became inevitable, it would have become impossible for both sides to declare anyone as a victor. In the event of nuclear war, both sides will be so badly harmed that it will be impossible to declare one side or the other as a winner. Even if one of the superpowers had attacked the nuclear weapons of the other superpower, it would still the other superpower the ability to inflict widespread destruction. This is known as Lousing of Deterrence. Both sides have the capacity to retaliate against any attack and to cause so much destruction that neither can afford to initiate a war. Thus, the Cold War, in spite of being an intense, it remained a cold and not hot a shooting war. Thus, the deterrence relationship prevents war, but not a rivalry between the powers. Both the superpowers, the USA and the USSR, had nuclear weapons and the ability to inflict a massive destruction on the other. This ability of deterrence forced both the superpowers and the countries allied with them to act rationally and positively. They were rational and responsible as they realized the risks involved in a direct war involving the two superpowers. Since both the superpowers and the blocs led by them were in a deterrence relationship, any direct war would have led to mass destruction. They act responsibly, they restrain themselves to avoid the risks of another war. Cold War and the capacity of deterrence was therefore able to ensure human survival during the active years of Cold War between two superpowers. This is the logic of deterrence. Thus, deterrence prevents war. Thus, the nuclear deterrence prevents a global war during the Cold War era. And this is all about the nuclear deterrence. Next classes will discuss about Cold War arena, challenges to bipolarity, then non-aligned movement and new international economic order. For today, keep learning, take care, enjoy. For further query, subscribe Learn Today YouTube channel. Join Learn Today Facebook page. The contact is WhatsApp numbers. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving.